Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is two things. One is new Russian steps to war. It's getting really scary out there, but I think I'm going to have some good news for you. And also poisoned water, some additional information on that. So, first of all, Russia. This thing with Russia is really, really heating up. And this is really important today, and I encourage you, stay all the way to the end. So this comes to us from HalTurnerRadioShow.com. Reports are flooding in that Russia is about to declare war on or about September 30th. Now, hopefully, by the time you see that, September 30th has already passed. But it goes on to say, within the past hour, reports from both open source intel and covert intel are screeching that Russian President Vladimir is expected to ask the Russian legislature to formally declare war on or about September 30th. The intel says that the public referendums being held in 4 years, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson, will be completed tomorrow. 2 days to physically count all the paper ballots in the 4 regions, and then those regions that vote to become Russia, and probably Russia has already killed the ones that would vote no. So probably we're about to see those 4 areas basically imported into Russia. Now, what does that mean? That means something very important. Then each territory that votes by majority to become Russia instantly become Russian territory. Now, I've already heard, what's the little black lady's name supposed to be speaking for Biden that keeps contradicting him? Well, she says that America is not going to receive the fact that these other areas are now part of Russian territory, even if the majority comes up to go to Russia. In other words, all of this is setting up to a nuclear war, and America will lose. If Ukraine continues its military efforts, an attack upon Russia is how they're going to look at it. It says Vladimir Putin is going to ask the Russian legislature to declare war upon Ukraine for attacking Russian territory. In other words, if they vote to become Russia and Ukraine continues to attack Russia, Russia's going to declare war on Ukraine. Now, it's one thing when you're going in and doing a little police action like what they're doing now, but it's another thing when you've declared war. When he declares war, we can probably expect the bombs to increase, the power of the bombs to increase. He's already called up, well, he's publicly said 300,000 soldiers, but inside sources say it's more like 1.2 million, and I've got some information on that. What does that mean? It means that he's about to attack Ukraine, but I don't think it's going to stop at the borders of Ukraine, because Daniel chapter 7 says that the bear has 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And was said unto the bear, arise and devour much flesh. So the devouring of flesh with the Russian bear has started, but this is only the first rib in the mouth of it. Russia is going to gobble up at least 2 more nations, probably one of them America. It says what is not yet talked about is whether or not Putin's request to the legislature will include any mention of NATO. Wow. What if Russia in the next few days declares war on NATO? Could they? Absolutely. NATO has not only been sending equipment, but also fingers to pull the trigger. So not only NATO, but America. Matter of fact, they could be declaring war on America. They could. And they would have reason to do so. We are attacking Russia. Not just sending equipment, but I think we're sending fingers to pull the triggers too. Headline, Biden advisor, U.S. will respond decisively if Russia uses nuclear weapons. So it says White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Sunday said, the United States will respond decisively if Russian president moves to use nuclear weapons. So if this goes to war, and it probably is, and if Putin says, okay, well now since it's war, I can use tactical nukes, the first time a nuke goes off, what they just said is America is going to involve themselves directly. Now, Putin is probably not afraid of America since he already knows that we can't fire one thing that'll hit his land. He also already knows that they have many nuclear warheads already aimed at America that we can't stop. He already knows he has a victory against America for the first time in Russian history. We've communicated directly, privately, at high levels to the Kremlin that any use of nuclear weapons would be met with catastrophic consequences for Russia. You know what we just did? We just threatened to use nuclear bombs on Russia. So Russia has threatened to use nuclear bombs on America. Now, America has threatened to use nuclear bombs right back. Folks, this is the way a world war starts. This is the way millions and billions of people get killed within a few days. Consequences for Russia that the United States and other allies will respond decisively. We have, in public, been equally clear as a matter of principle that the United States will respond decisively if Russia uses nuclear weapons, and that we will continue to support Ukraine in its efforts to defend its country and defend its democracy. Never mind, it's corrupt. It's the home of the Moloch and Baal worshippers. Headline, UN Chief urges an end to nuclear weapons for future generations. Now, I'm going to ask you up front, how does this article relate to Bible prophecy? And my guess is you'll probably get this wide-eyed look, kind of like a cow staring at a new gate, and you'll probably say, I don't know that it does. But I'm going to show you scripture. It does. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged all nations to abolish nuclear weapons. It's International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons. He offered his new peace agenda. Now, how does that relate to Bible prophecy? Here's the scripture. Revelation 17:12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. In other words, this is the world government divided into 10 global regions. But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. 1 hour represents 7 years. These have one mind and should give their power and strength unto the beast, meaning the 10 nations or the 10 global confederacies of the world will turn around and give all of their military might to the UN, i.e. the Antichrist. Why? Because God has put in their hearts to fulfill his will and a decree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. Then let's go to 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety. Why would they say peace and safety? Well, because now all the world has turned all of the nuclear weapons, all of their military, everything militarily over to the beast. And he's such a wonderful guy. So they all say peace, peace. Then sudden destruction shall come upon them. Daniel even says by peace he'll destroy many. Now let's go back. In case you think this is all just on the other side of the world, you would be wrong. Headline, Patrol spots Chinese and Russian naval ships just off Alaska Island. It says U.S. Coast Guard ship on routine patrol in the Bering Sea came across a guided missile carrier from China. 2 other Chinese naval ships and 4 other Russian, that's not small, okay, including a destroyer, were spotted in single formation, the patrol boat known as a cutter called Kimball. Okay, when they're all in a line, that's saying Russia and China are already off the coast of Alaska, ready to fire. They're ready to fight, and they're on the same side. That's what it says. The ships broke formation and dispersed. An AC-130 Hercules gunship provided air support for the Kimball for the Coast Guard station in Kodiak. They're saying, we're putting a shot across the bow. You involve yourself anymore in Ukraine, and America, we will take you out. As further evidence, this is on New Jersey transit buses carrying nuclear attack instructions. In New York City, they're actually teaching their people, here's what to do in case of a nuclear attack. But I think it's funny because, back in the 60s, we were digging holes in the ground and we were making preparations to survive a nuclear attack. But when's the last time you saw a fallout shelter sign in America? It goes on. There's more. Nuclear attack subway signs in New York City. More. How to decontaminate yourself in a nuclear emergency. They've even put out a video. This is being put on TV in New York City. So it's on the buses, it's in the subways, it's on the TV. Why? He goes on to say Russia utilizes what they call YARS, an intercontinental ballistic missile, to launch a nuclear strike. Those missiles carry an 800 kiloton, and I think I'm right when I say The ones that dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the largest one was only a 4 kiloton. So 800 kiloton, we're talking about really, really powerful. An 800 kiloton nuclear warhead, 53 times more powerful than the nuclear bomb detonated on Hiroshima. The blast from an 80 kiloton nuclear warhead detonated to 2,900 meters above the Empire State Building, Manhattan, would look like this. Now, what do? Well, when a nuclear device is detonated, the dust settles on everything. You breathe it, absorb it. You cannot stop it. And when you breathe it or absorb it, it floods your thyroid with bad iodine, killing your thyroid and killing you. But there is a solution. I just went out to my freezer. This is mine. I keep it out there. I've had it for several years. And it says, this is potassium iodide. As a matter of fact, I keep it in the freezer, and I keep them in a Ziploc bag, just like this. This is my personal supply we keep in the freezer. So there you go. Now, it's $30 a bottle. If you order 5 bottles, you get an extra bottle free. You need 1 bottle per exposure per person, and it has the instructions on it. But anyway, I would suggest you go to prophecyclub.com, and let me just tell you, we've only got 100 bottles. Now, we've already made plans to get another 1,000 bottles in. Ben's this is coming up. Right now, we only have 100. So my suggestion is you get over to prophecyclub.com and you get your bottles ordered real quick. You might even be a part of the 100 that we have. And if not, then another week or so after that, we will get some more bottles, get it out to you. $30 a bottle, order 5 and get a 6th one free. Here it is, potassium iodide. Is your life worth $30? I mean, you may as well have it. I mean, spend $30. Spend $30. So you get a suitcase nuke in the area, something like that. Not worried. Goes on to the same article. Government doesn't do this for no reason. Readers of this story must clearly understand that the government does not do things like posting signs in subways, putting PSAs on television. They don't do this to try to scare people. They do this because they know something. Either they know that it's coming, or they suspect strongly that it's coming, because it's not in their best interest to wake up the people. They want us asleep. They want us to think that there's a pre-trib rapture. They want us to think that there's no trouble coming. That way we aren't rising up and fighting against them. We aren't praying against them. So this is everything against what the devil would want, meaning something's up. And for those who are not dead, there won't be any shelter. There won't be any place to wash or shower. There won't be any running water to wash or shower with. There won't be any media to tune into because all the transmitters will be destroyed and damaged by the EMP. So, most of the information being provided is going to be useless. In another article, now this is dated September the 20th, but it still relates. Covert intel updated. He says, okay, this is only one source. He said, but the source says, which we're now going to confirm here in just a second, a significant number of high-level people allegedly stopped what they were doing, got up, and left Washington, D.C. Then the same source says they went and got family and left. The same source went on to claim all calls to any of these people go directly to voicemail, even their cell phones. I have not been able to verify this, but I'm going to show you the verification. Very senior DOD people left work suddenly this afternoon from another source. Top guys in OAA got up and left early also. Earlier today, the Russian Duma, their version of the House of Representatives, voted to change criminal law to cover looting, mobilization, and martial law. In other words, Russia is planning for war. The upper chamber of their legislature, called the Federation Council, will take up the law changes tomorrow. Then, later today, announcements were made on all Russian TV channels that President Putin and the defense minister would be addressing the nation at 8 p.m. And I believe that that's saying 8 p.m. tonight. Might have been last night. With that announcement, people inside Russia began fleeing to the border with Finland. So the Russians are getting out. The Russians are bugging out big time. The image below show a border crossing with miles of cars backing up, getting out of Russia, which I'm not going to include. In a highly unusual move, for about 2 hours of waiting, Russian president gave highly anticipated speech that the Kremlin sources say has been postponed until tomorrow. So that might be tomorrow night. Later, the Russian government ordered all flights, are you listening? All flights into and out of Moscow to be canceled. What? I mean, that's getting really drastic, right? They said it was due to weather, but of course it wasn't due to weather. Another update, same topic. The following are rumors. He says, I emphasize they are rumors. Putin started silent mobilization. Notices are being handed out to conscript in public places. In other words, they're driving around in trucks, and if they find a military-age male, they grab them, throw them in the back of the truck, take them off to some camp and say, congratulations, soldier, you're going to be fighting for Russia. That's conscripting. Central Bank Governor Naval submitted her resignation. Her condition from the start was no mobilization or she resigns. The editor-in-chief of Russian television just posted her official social media feed saying, judging by what is happening and still about to happen, this week marks either the eve of our imminent victory or the eve of nuclear war. I can't see anything third. This is people in the Russian television business, and they're afraid they're about to go to war. They're so afraid they're leaving Russia like rats leaving a sinking ship. Now, I said I would give you verification of what he's saying. Here it is. Somebody sent me this video, which, by the way, thank you for sending things to askstan@prophecyclub.com. But it says Washington, D.C. is nearly deserted, and the video shows driving around all over, and you can see there's hardly anyone there. Well, where'd they all go? Maybe they know something that we don't know. What is wrong with this? You say, well, it's a piece of bread. You're right. It's a piece of bread I took out of this loaf. This loaf is a 1 pound loaf, and there's something missing from this bread. Even though it says it is whole wheat, there's still something missing from this and almost all of the bread you're eating. See, the story was in 1860, the smart humans decided that they were going to outstrip God and that they could figure out a way to where the flour would not spoil, because once you break the wheat berry, then it begins to spoil, and in 7 to 10 days, it's got mold. So they figured out how they could be smarter than God. We're going to take out the outside shell and then the wheat germ. We're only going to use the white powder part of the wheat. And that doesn't spoil. And they're right. You can put it in a bag. 5 years later, it's still there. But then, of course, there's something else they removed. And that is most. Now, not all, but most of the nutrition. So then they had to pass all of these laws saying you got to put niacin, you got to put vitamins, you got to do this, put all of this into the... So why not just use what God made? So the difference between this and what I made is this. That's the difference in my bread, whole wheat bread, versus what you buy in the store. The bigger slice here, this is actually cherry, cinnamon, honey, and vanilla mixed together. And I made this. So when you make your own homemade bread, you can make it flavor any way. You want jalapeno, you got it. You want to have seeds, sesame seeds, however you want to, you can make it. But the big advantage to making your own whole wheat bread is that it's probably the cheapest way to have long-term storage food, because most of your long-term storage food companies cost $9,000 to $10,000 per person per year. But at Joseph's Kitchen, they can show you how to feed your family for about $1,000 per person per year, and it's whole wheat. Okay, so what is whole wheat over the regular wheat? Well, you remember the 7 years of plenty followed by the 7 years of famine of Joseph and the Pharaoh. Well, that meant that the whole world lived off of wheat for 7 years. Now, I don't think that maybe Jesus said, man should not live by bread alone, meaning you should have other things that you should eat. However, about the closest thing out there that'll feed you not only good tasting but also nutrition for your body is wheat. And so we recommend you go to josephskitchen.com. When you go there, you got to get 2 things. One is you have to get a machine package. That's the items that you need to actually physically make the bread. It's a wheat grinder where you put the wheat in. 30 seconds later, you have flour. You put it into a bread machine with 6 other ingredients. Push a button, 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice, hot, steaming loaf of wonderful, that you made, whole wheat bread. Slice that up. The slicer is even included. The beakers, it's everything you need to make bread. Then you decide how much food you want to have. You want to have food for 6 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, 2 people 1 year. You place your order, and they have it in stock. Because most of these long-term storage food places, they're out. Some of them are 2 or 3 months. Some of them are even longer behind in filling their orders. But at Joseph's Kitchen, they can ship within 2 or 3 days. And they ship around the world. Go to josephskitchen.com. I'm telling you that the prophecies say there's about to be a food shortage. And if you want to listen to what God's trying to warn us about, then you'll get this long-term storage food. I Saw Submarines Attack America was a vision given to Henry Groover December 14th, 1986. He says, I was on top of the Eagle Tower at Carnarvon Castle, had 8 points on it. Each of the points were roted eagles. This castle was built in the 12th century. Henry is gone to be with the Lord now, but he used to walk and pray over cities. He walked and prayed like over 200 cities. He would get a map and systematically walk down every street in the city, praying loud, praying in the Spirit, pulling down strongholds, loosing the angels to do warfare. When he was done praying, he would go up to the highest point over the city, lift his hands, and reclaim the city for God. This is what he's doing. He's reclaiming the city for God here. He says, so I was overlooking the Irish Sea up toward the North Sea, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and the tip of Scotland, Greenland, Iceland, in that area. All of a sudden, I was lifted up above the earth, looking down on the earth like a globe. As I looked down on the earth, I saw all these massive amounts of ships and airplanes coming up out of this area, this inlet out of Norway, which was Murmansk. They headed down between the United States and Europe. They literally covered the whole Atlantic. And I wanted to see what was happening to the United States. And I looked over on the globe at the United States, and I saw coming out of the United States these radio communication towers. Now, in 1986, they didn't have cell towers. They didn't have cell phones. But he later identified those when they started putting up the cell phone towers. He said, that's what I saw. I saw the jagged lines like they draw to show the communications are coming out. All of a sudden, as I was looking down on them, they began to sprinkle down on the earth like dust, meaning probably an EMP blast just took out all the electronics. So if you're going to hit somebody in the nose, first thing you do is throw sand in their eyes so they can't see. And that's what Russia does. First, they use EMP attacks. Maurice Clark saw one in the east, one in the west, one in the central part of the United States, totally blacked out America. Every computer chip that is not protected, which, by the way, I'll send you to EMPShield.com, EMPShield.com. Use the promo code PROPHECY, and you get a $50 discount. But those people can show you how to put one on your car, one on your house, so that when this happens, your computer chips aren't fried. Anyway, so they begin to sprinkle down on the earth like dust. And I thought, oh no, they're not getting through. They're not getting through. They don't know what is happening. They're totally oblivious. Then I began to see all these submarines emerging from under the surface. I was surprised at how close they were to our borders. They were in our territorial waters, and other places, he said, it's almost like they were parked on our beaches. Then I saw missiles come out. They hit eastern coastal cities of the United States. I looked across the country where my family was at the time in the Northwest, and I saw submarines, missiles coming out, hitting western coastal cities. The missiles took less than 60 seconds from launch to detonation. I saw one hit Seattle, Bellevue, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Miami, Tampa. 6 nuclear blasts that just literally leveled everything. I cried out and I said, oh God, when will this be and what will there be the sign of its coming? Now here it is. What I'm about to tell you may be happening now. In an audible voice spoke to me and said, when Russia opens her doors and lets the masses go, the free world will occupy themselves with transporting, housing, feeding, and caring for the masses, and will let down their weapons and cry peace and safety. Then sudden destruction will come. Then is when it will come. Now, I do not believe that what is happening right now is with Russia. I do not believe that Russia is about to attack America. I know Russia is not about to attack America, but I do think it's leading up to it. I don't think it's within a matter of a few weeks or even a few months. I hope it's at least a few years away. But what do I know? Maybe I'm wrong. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com is where I'll send you if you're thinking about getting gold or silver. I think everybody should have at least a fistful of gold and a fistful of silver, because there could be a time when you pull up to get gasoline and they might not want to take your loaf of bread, but you pull out a gold coin or a silver coin, and you're probably able to get anything you want, even if the credit cards are down, even if the dollars are worthless. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Next is, I'll send you to EMPShield.com. If you use the promo word prophecy, you get a $50 discount. What is that? Well, it looks like this. This is the one that goes into a car, okay? And you put the red wire to the red side of the battery, you put the black wire to the black side of the battery, and the green one attaches to the body of the car. Then you peel it off right back here. Just peel that off, stick it inside of the engine compartment of your car. And the whole point is when the electricity goes off, or when some kind of a suitcase nuclear device goes off, this is supposed to be able to stop that device from destroying every computer chip in your car. Because if every computer chip is destroyed in your car these days, you couldn't possibly replace them all. Throw the car away. So, EMPShield.com, promo code prophecy. Now let's talk about water. Cornerstone had a dream, and he said he saw headlines that said, entire communities poisoned through water supply. Reporters were telling people to drink nothing but bottled water or water they knew was not connected to the local water supply. It was affecting both larger and smaller communities. Boiling water was not an effective way of making any water safe. Leslie Johnson had a prophecy back in 2011. She says, the Lord says there's going to be something put into the water supply in many cities of the nation. People will begin to get sick, some will die. Get a good, reliable water filter. You will not be able to trust the tap water or the bottled water. You must get something to filter the water you are going to need. That's back in 2011. So if you want it, we suggest you go to prophecyclub.com. You click right here where it says Berkeys. This is what it looks like. Currently, all Berkeys are in stock. The one I have is this guy right here. It's the Crown. It has 8 filters. I recommend you get as much as you can afford, and also recommend you get some extra filters. That's at prophecyclub.com. Also, if you are thinking about joining us and being a part of the solution rather than just watching, if you'll go to prophecyclub.com and click on Fast Track, you can fast and pray to help Prophecy Club do what God has called it to do.